Coming up next on Tech News Today, Google's new video chat app Duo is released. Intel's developer conference had a number of announcements based on RealSense technology. Very cool stuff there. iNaturalist is like Pokemon Go, but for real life. Ford announced its plans for fully autonomous vehicles sometime in 2021. And quantum encryption is complicated, but secure. We'll talk about that next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1578, recorded Tuesday, August 16th, 2016. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost, automated investment service and the most sophisticated way to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/TNT and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/TNT.
And by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/ecotank to find out more.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT.
Welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we talk about all the techie things that happened today and other things that we like that might have happened yesterday. I'm Megan Morrone.
I'm Jason Howell. Insert witty comment here. It feels like a Monday, but it's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday, yep.
But we've got a new way to talk about the show now. A new app came out. So even though we share an office, I'm thinking going forward, we're just going to use Google's new app. What do you think?
Yes, excellent. I love video calling you when you're sitting next to me.
All right, so let's chat a little bit about this, and then we'll decide whether we're actually going to do that plan or not.
Okay.
After many attempts to get messaging right, Google is at it again. This time, it's unleashed an app called Duo for Android and iOS. This was first shown off at Google I/O a few months ago, and many are kind of calling it the FaceTime for Android, even though it's cross-platform. No Google account is needed to use it. A user's phone number is their account. So Duo allows for one-on-one video calling. It's been optimized for all types of connectivity, all the way down to 2G speeds. Basically, it's meant to be fast and light. And, it's kind of no frills. I'm showing it off right here. There's really not a whole lot to see, right? It's just the video, a little button to fire off a video call, and then any contacts that you might have. As you can see, I've already video called Megan and Ron Richards.
Your two favorite people.
My two favorite people in the entire world. So I'll go ahead and I'll call Megan.
On my iOS device? What?
And then you'll see. Now show Megan's shot here.
So
is it working this time?
I got a notification on my Apple Watch, which
but
does
it's not
nothing.
doing the knock thing.
And then it does. So it won't just push it on iOS. You don't get push notifications. You only get push notifications.
Okay.
It says Duo incoming call.
And then does it have me? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Did do that here. I'm going to try again. Hold it up. Keep holding it up though.
Okay.
Because
hang up on you?
this is one of the features. No, it should still be up. But yeah, for iOS, for some reason, the knock isn't
Not
always
perfect
working.
yet.
It didn't work perfectly in the office when we were trying it earlier. But basically what it should be doing is it should be showing my video. In fact, you call me now.
Okay. I'll call you.
Yeah, let's see if that works.
Okay.
Oh, I like the split screen.
And it says your video is visible.
Yeah, what's up with this? Duo. This is like one of your main
So
features,
confusing.
and it's not working. So what? We'll just keep calling each other. It's a lot of fun.
So one real concern.
Thank you. So basically, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to show you my video before you pick up the call. So I've got to be aware that you could see me picking my nose if I was picking my nose before you answered.
It does work. It did work a few times.
Yeah,
when
but it's not worked more times than it's worked in our playing around with it. But I don't know. What do you think? It's meant to be light. It's meant to be, I don't know, replace the Hangouts functionality, at least on Android.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't love video chatting.
Yeah.
Like I have the ability to FaceTime. I occasionally use it with my children. Like I don't want to always see people. Like, and I definitely, you never know if what the person's doing when you're calling. So the knock feature is a little weird, I guess. Although it was cool to see Ron when you called him before, and he was like walking the streets of New York, and that was exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not one of those things that's like, you're going to stream something that you don't intend to stream, because it really does tell you, like, if I'm calling you, it tells me on my phone, like, your video is live now, and all you see is what I intend for you to see, hopefully. I mean, maybe someone won't catch that hint or whatever. So it was interesting. Like, when I called Ron Richards, he was walking out on the streets of New York, and so I saw him, kind of like walking along, and, he was... whatever, he was right there. So it was really, really cool from that perspective. I think the general sense that we're getting about this is that Google is kind of repositioning Hangouts, which still exists and still does this, as more of an enterprise solution, moving it because they've seen a lot of, or at least they say they've seen a lot of pickup in business, in enterprise. We use it here sometimes, for these shows. So that's one example. Whereas this is just meant to be like consumer, super easy for a consumer to just find a contact and fire off a video chat. But yeah, I don't really video chat. If I'm traveling, maybe I might video chat with my family to say hi and see them and everything. But beyond that, it's not like a regular everyday part of my communication life.
No, and let's face it, we already have so many ways to do this that we don't use.
Right there.
FaceTime, you can do it Facebook Messenger, you can video call. Like, I've had someone accidentally do that, and they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I did not mean to do that." You can make calls on Skype, and with Skype and Facebook, you can have group calls, which to me seems like that might be something more useful. So Duo, that knock feature is not going to convince me that video calling is what I want to do in the future.
Well, and that's the big challenge right there, is convincing people to install it and then to use it. Because like you say, there are so many of these services out there already. Google was so ahead of the game 5 years ago-ish, right around there. They brought Hangouts out, and it was video chat before. I mean, right about the time that it was starting to become something. And it almost feels like it's a redo. It's like a mulligan at this point, and everybody else is kind of caught up and moved on. So convincing somebody else to install this, and then we use that going forward, that's the huge challenge. So question of the day, video calling, is this something that you use, that you're clamoring for, you never use, couldn't care less? Let us know, tnt@twit.tv. And we'll read that hopefully on tomorrow's show. But real quick, before moving on, related news, Google announced that it's halting Hangouts on air. That's its like broadcasting, group Hangout sessions, essentially, on September 12th. It's not going away for good, though. On that day and moving forward, YouTube Live will be the place to hold those kinds of streams. So you aren't totally out of luck. You're just kind of inconvenienced in the short term until you reprogram your ways for doing that sort of thing.
Well, goodbye, PC Alloy virtual reality.
Alloy virtual reality.
Alloy. That's a sort of half pun on the new mixed reality headset that Intel showed off at what might be one of their most important developers conference in as long as many of us can remember. Project Alloy is a new virtual reality reference design that requires no computer or smartphone to run it. That's right. It's got Intel inside, which means it runs on its own processor and its own battery. It's cordless, it's self-contained, no extraneous components, no cameras, no sensors, no extraneous cameras or extraneous sensors or extraneous input controls, no extraneous anything. In today's demo, Intel CEO Brian Krzanich said the headset has 6 degrees of freedom. That's the industry term for the ability to move freely in virtual reality with no movement constriction. It tracks the room on its own. It recognizes people, things in your way so that you're not knocking into people. And they did this interesting demo where they had like a dollar bill and they used it as a lathe to sort of like cut through a brick. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's Intel, you could tell from their announcement, are pushing hard on their RealSense depth camera technology in this case. To track your hands is at least one part of it. And I really like the idea of being in virtual reality and having your hands, be represented in a digital sense without having to hold on a controller. That's what they're really playing up here. So that was cool. Some of the people that were there said the experience was a little less than amazing, partially because of the reliance on Wi-Fi for some of the stuff. So, kind of could be a little choppy. Also that the RealSense camera aspect of it rendered a very low res kind of image of the hands. But I mean, I would say cut it some slack. It's kind of early days right now. And this is really cool. They've got a partnership with Windows to bring Windows holographic OS, which is basically the OS that powers the HoloLens, to Alloy. They're open sourcing the hardware, like you said. That happens second half of 2017. So we're going to start to see the first here of the third-party kind of holographic OS devices out of this. So that's neat. I like it. Also announced at the Intel Developers Conference is the new Joule maker board. It's a platform that allows makers to build computer vision products, moving their ideas from prototype to fully realized robotics and machine vision products. Essentially, it's a small but capable computer, kind of like what you might think about like a Raspberry Pi, but definitely more souped up, with extra sensors like what we were just talking about, RealSense technology built in. Armed with that, drones, robots, and other types of gadgets have the smarts that they need to analyze and collect data in the real world that surrounds them. And, you know, people can just kind of put this to work in a number of different ways. One of the demonstrations that they had was Pivot Head. That showed Joule embedded into industrial safety glasses. That essentially what it meant is that, you know, workers who were working on aircraft components could just do what they do, work on it as they do, not relying on the technology to inform them of this or that, but the technology is constantly monitoring, and it could perform volt verification to know whether if and when a component just doesn't check out. If it finds an error in real time, then it can send a notification to that worker to dive in and, you know, explore that further. So, and that's just one example.
Yeah, they gave some other examples. Microsoft, they have a partnership with Microsoft. They're using Joule in a robotic panda. It's called Bamboo. And it reminds kids with diabetes to check their blood sugar level. Also a bartending robot. It's called Soda One. That has the RealSense heads-up and display and heads-up display for motorcycle helmets, you know, for police and so forth. Is useful.
I know. Father Robert Balser is there, and I don't know. I could see him kind of salivating over some of this stuff because it seems like perfect. Well, and Brian's behind the board. Perfect know-how material to kind of work with this and build some pretty cool stuff. There's 2 kits available of kind of varying capabilities. And the only one that we actually have a price on, and Gadget was able to get Intel to give the price on the souped up kit, which is $369. So that is, you know, that's definitely a little more expensive than, let's say, a Raspberry Pi. But there you go. Intel also showed off Project Euclid. That's a candy bar sized module based specifically on Intel's RealSense tech. So again, RealSense is really baked into what they were showing off. That can bring those sensors to robots. You know, so you know, basically the Euclid has an Atom processor, cameras, motion sensors, onboard communications, battery, all this kind of stuff built right into it. They didn't have any word on availability as far as that's concerned. We're going to have this and a whole lot more. Like I said, Father Robert Balser is at the event all day. I know that they're recording a special. So go to twit.tv/specials to find that episode once it posts. I know it's not up yet, so give that a day. I'm not sure how long it takes to edit that package together, but we'll have something, so check there.
Yesterday, we talked to Iain Thomson about a possible hack of the Equation Group, which is part of the NSA. An outfit calling themselves the Shadow Brokers is attempting to auction off a digital arsenal of data they claim comes from an NSA hack. There were 2 encrypted files, and the group provided the password to the first as proof. Now, Iain said experts were still examining the data yesterday to determine if it was both real and not available already somewhere else. Today, many of those security experts are saying that they believe the data is real and previously unpublished. Now, these experts include well-known security veteran Bruce Schneier, Nicholas Weaver, senior staff researcher at the International Computer Science Institute, Dave Attell, an offensive security expert who spent 6 years as an NSA security scientist, and another former NSA security scientist you might have heard of by the name of Edward Snowden. In a series of tweets early this morning, Snowden said, quote, "The hack of an NSA malware staging server is not unprecedented, but the publication of the take is." He adds that the release of these cyber weapons should be seen as a warning that escalation in the attribution game could get messy fast. So he and many think this is a warning from Russia, maybe, you know, don't dealing with the DNC hack.
Right.
So, you know, trying to sort of warning them like this, how you punish people or how you go after people, like look at what we have from you. Snowden says the undetected hacker squatting on the NSA server lost access in June 2013. And he says that was when they changed servers after he came forward. And Snowden says, "You're welcome.
You're
NSA.
welcome. See what I did for you." Yeah, this thread, this kind of tweet storm that Snowden released on this was very fascinating. Like you were saying, it's a warning essentially, as far as he can tell. And I think what's interesting about this is that what he's saying specifically about it is that the attacks can be seen as being made on an originating server, and that much is known, that belong to the U.S. And in the case of foreign policy, that potentially tells U.S. enemies, not only U.S. enemies, but also U.S. allies, whether the U.S. has been actively spying on them. If they know, if they recognize that server on their end, then they know that belongs to the U.S. based on this leak, and that could be pretty bad, particularly with allies of the U.S. who think they're kind of on a level playing field, especially if it happens to target things like elections for other entities. So essentially this is kind of a warning in that regard, but very, very cool to read through that tweet storm. Made a whole lot of sense. There we go. We spent a good amount of time yesterday discussing the realities facing refugees in Greece and France. And it's important to note that here in the U.S., we have scenarios that benefit from the use of technology in similar ways. Case in point, Louisiana is experiencing, if you hadn't heard, unprecedented levels of flooding. It's actually left 11 dead at the time of this show. When a situation like this happens, many wonder what they can do to help. And online fundraising has been incredibly valuable in that case, but it's also ripe ground for people who want to take advantage of tragedy by promoting their own bogus fundraising efforts to take the money and run. Well, the Louisiana Department of Justice actually teamed up with GoFundMe to ensure that the 2,000 plus campaigns that are currently running to aid victims of the flooding are protected against fraud in a number of ways. And ultimately, this makes sure that the people in need get the money and not someone just looking to take advantage of that tragedy and make some money from it. So good to know that there's that kind of communication going on, particularly with GoFundMe.
Yeah, I wanted to thank the chat room too. They mentioned yesterday, someone in the chat room asked, "Where can I donate?" So I thought, oh, well, this is something that we should cover. It's the worst disaster since Sandy, they think. The Red Cross also has an emergency app. If you have family members there, it will help you find loved ones. It's available on iOS or Android.
Yeah, and actually the Attorney General also, just as a general recommendation for when situations like this happen and there are these kind of fundraising efforts happening, that you only actually end up donating to the funds of people that you do know and trust, which, I don't know, for outsiders who want to give, maybe the safer route for something like that, if you don't actually know someone involved but you still want to give, is to go to the Red Cross or, a number of other kind of more official ways outside of GoFundMe. But there you go. Up next, take what we know about Pokemon Go. Maybe we don't like listening to discussion about Pokemon Go anymore, but we're not going to, because we're going to apply that to the real world. Really cool stuff. But first, let's take a minute to thank Wealthfront, the sponsor of this episode. You invest for long-term, for you, for your family's financial health, but trying to do it all yourself, especially the right way, it's complex, it's time-consuming, it's not easy. Luckily, there's Wealthfront. Traditional advisors charge huge fees between 1% to 3% of what they manage. With Wealthfront, you pay 0.25% a year. That's 25 basis points, 0 commissions, and no hidden fees. It's actually less than $5 a month to invest a $30,000 account. There are no additional charges for any of Wealthfront's services. You can get started investing today with as little as $500. Now, unlike other financial advisors, Wealthfront won't bog you down with dozens of questions. They've actually simplified their risk identification process, which allows you to begin investing sooner. And it only takes a few minutes to sign up. It goes right to work. It monitors your portfolios around the clock, takes action as soon as an opportunity arises. Wealthfront portfolios are based on modern portfolio theory, and they're designed to adjust according to your personal risk tolerance while staying diversified and tax efficient. Wealthfront is transparent, it's accessible. You can actually view and track all your accounts in one single place. Wealthfront can track both your Wealthfront and your non-Wealthfront bank and brokerage accounts that they're going to provide to you in a summary of all your assets. You can see every trade that Wealthfront makes on your behalf in your dashboard, on your desktop, or with their mobile app. Wealthfront recently introduced their 529 college savings plan. That allows you to invest after-tax dollars, much like a Roth IRA, and save for your child or grandchild's higher education expenses. Wealthfront manages almost $3 billion in client assets and is growing rapidly every day, so you have no reason to wait. Invest in your future today with Wealthfront. Visit wealthfront.com/TNT. You can sign up, get your free personalized investment portfolio. You're going to see customized allocation that they recommend for your profile. And just for Twit listeners, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 entirely free of charge for life. Join the many Twit fans who've seen huge success with Wealthfront and claim your offer today at wealthfront.com/TNT.
Not into Pokemon Go? That is okay. We still like you. But maybe you'd be interested in using your smartphone to catch and collect something a little more biodiverse and real than Charmander or Squirtle. We still like them. But joining us to talk about an app that gamifies biology is Lauren Silverman from NPR's Weekend Edition and KERA in Dallas. Welcome, Lauren.
Welcome to me. Thanks.
I know you're more normally doing the interviewing, so thanks for letting us interview you. So tell us a little bit about the app iNaturalist.
So it's an app that is actually somewhat new to me. I'd heard about it before, but if you want to imagine it like Pokemon Go with real critters that you can track and pick up, and fungus and plant life and pretty much anything you can imagine. The idea behind it was a few people who got started, were working on a master's project at UC Berkeley, so out in your neck of the woods, and they wanted to think of a way to make science more engaging. So instead of textbooks or maybe having to go to a museum, they wanted to get people involved in science themselves. And so what they did was essentially try and almost gamify science by having people use these magic tools that we all have in our pockets, these phones, to take photos of the things that they're seeing out in nature in their own backyards or in their school or on a hike, wherever, and to upload it, to share it with people, and then have multiple users from all over the place identify the species or identify it, and then have it be a collaborative process. So it's a way to get people involved in science that's pretty new and a lot less boring than your typical book.
So your radio report on this, you went to a mothing event. Tell us a little bit about what a mothing event is.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that either, but basically it's what it sounds like. It's people getting together to look at moths, but it's cool because you have to attract the moths. You know, they come out at night. They're the opposite of butterflies in that sense. And to attract them, they hang these white sheets and then have black lights that you'd expect to find in like a club or something. And the bugs just all flock to the white surface. And they start coming. First, it's just a few of them, and it's ones you might be familiar with. And then stranger moths that I didn't even know existed start appearing, and beetles. That one you just showed is a Texas longhorn beetle, which I liked because I'm not from Texas, so it was new to me. And then everyone pulled out their cameras and just started, taking photos of these bugs and then uploading them onto iNaturalist. And if you have your location setting on your phone, it will put a pin where you've uploaded that observation, very scientific term for it. So you upload it, it shows the pin where you've seen the observation. You can type in any notes, what you think it is, what the conditions were. And once you've uploaded it, other people who are on the site, either then or any other time, can comment, and experts end up helping to identify what it is. So it's almost like crowdsourcing science.
So it's available on iPhone and Android, and Jason downloaded it on his Android phone, and he has that now.
It's kind of off in the distance. We're in the process of breaking down our studio, getting ready for the move, so we don't have the overhead shot, but yeah, I've got it right here. You've got kind of all the things broken out into their own categories. What we're looking at right now is actually the Olompali State Historic Park. And so there's a bunch of people just like offering different, discoveries that they make. I think here, is more in vegetation around the park and everything like that. But There is no Pokeball throwing, though, and no gyms for these insects and plant life to train at, right?
No, there's not. But when I talked to one of the co-creators of it, Scott Laurie, who works at the California Academy of Sciences, which actually bought up the app. They own it now. He said that they are working on ways to make it more game-like and to take advantage of the Pokemon craze. So if you go on Twitter and you type in hashtag PokeBlitz, you can actually see people uploading, instead of Pokemon, uploading images just like they would to iNaturalist on Twitter and getting people on Twitter to help identify what they are. But another cool thing about it is that it's actually led to some real discoveries, actual species discoveries, new species. And there was one story, someone who was on a trip in Vietnam, I think it was just a tourism, happened to see this snail and upload a photo of the snail a few years ago. And someone who is an expert in mollusks, which includes snails, saw this image and said, oh my gosh, I've read about this, or I've seen it in drawings. It's this drawing from a voyage that Captain Cook went on a long, long time ago, but it had never been photographed before. So this was the first photograph that people had seen of this mollusk described on one of Captain Cook's voyages.
That's amazing. I think we're looking at that story now.
Yeah.
So
and, it doesn't look that amazing, the snail, but it's cool.
If you're into snails, I'm sure it is. Yeah. So you talked to a lot of bug fanatics on the mothing event. What are some of their other stories that you heard about?
One person who was there was this man named Stalin, and he's from South India, and he's really into photography. So it brought out people who love nature photography as well. And he is, an avid citizen scientist, someone who goes out and is constantly observing the world around him and the insects and the plant life and trying to document it, both for science and just because he loves photography. And so he was really excited to be at the mothing event and has, I don't know how many observations on his phone, but there was a woman there who had, I can't remember, thousands, maybe definitely hundreds or 1,000 observations that she'd uploaded. Wow. And it takes time to do this, and every time she finds something new that she thinks is interesting, her name's Anna Lindquist. When she finds something, she'll tag people, just like you would in Twitter when you're trying to get someone's attention, or Facebook. She'll tag people who she knows are experts in specific areas, so that they will look at the photo and help her identify what it is.
That's great. And a few weeks ago, we spoke to someone about amateur astronomy, and it was the same thing. It was just people in their backyards just interested, but all of the technology and Reddit and all the social networking makes the ability to give all these amateurs direct access to scientists and actually help them with their jobs.
Yeah, it helps them. And the other story was there was someone in Colombia who a few years ago saw a frog. I think it was a red and black frog that he uploaded an image of. And I believe he was a photographer, definitely interested in nature, but I don't think he was trained. He's not a frog expert by any means. And someone in Washington, D.C., who does study poison dart frogs, saw this photo, and they realized it was a new species. And the two of them co-authored a paper in a peer-reviewed science journal about their discovery.
Wow. So is this app recommended for adults and kids?
Definitely. And that's both the benefit, I think, to it and the challenge that they have with making it more widespread is it has to appeal to both a 5-year-old kid who just is looking on the sidewalk or in his front yard, and to the world's foremost beetle expert or mosquito expert. So it's like trying to find the balance between being too science, high level, nerdy, and then also being appealing to kids.
Well, thank you so much. And definitely, if anyone's getting tired of Pokemon, this is probably the next step. Lauren Silverman is at KERA in Dallas. She's a health and tech reporter, and she is on Twitter at LSilverwoman. Thanks so much for joining us, Lauren.
Thank you. Have fun.
Thank you, Lauren.
Take care.
Appreciate it. All right, Ben Shore, a senior content developer at Microsoft, sent us a few tweets about our discussion yesterday regarding self-checkout. We wondered whether the grocery store of the future would be filled with RFID chipped oranges, RFID inside the fruit. He writes, the future of grocery stores is probably some sort of RFID scanner that you push your cart through that has your payment on file, as opposed to barcode scanning individual items, which is easier to fake. I like that. That sounds like that's going to cut down time, and I won't risk eating an RFID chip, which I don't know if they're tasty or not. I've never tried one.
No, but then
I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm just saying I don't want it.
But then I could track you if you did.
That's true. But for how long?
Oh, you just took that somewhere.
No, I just said words. Sometimes they come out wrong.
After the break, Ford promises a fleet of self-driving cars by 2021. We'll talk to Mike Murphy from Quartz about what that means. But first, let's take a minute to thank Epson, the sponsor of this episode. It's almost back to school time, and you know what that means? Lots and lots of papers to print. Lots and lots of them. Epson's revolutionary cartridge-free EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduce a new age in printing. The EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer doesn't use ink cartridges. It features an amazing, innovative, refillable ink tank, earning it the title of CES 2016 Innovation Awards honoree. No more out-of-ink frustration. It includes up to 2 years of ink, equal to 11,000 black pages, or 8,500 color pages. You can save up to 80% on ink with low-cost replacement bottles. It's powered by precision core printing technology. It has auto two-sided printing and a 30-page auto document feeder, easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. All EcoTank printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value. With Epson's EcoTank line of printers, you'll have the freedom to print without running out of ink. The Epson EcoTank system was named the 2016 Small Biz Windows Printer of the Year. So visit epson.com/EcoTank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the Epson EcoTank printers. That's epson.com/EcoTank. And we thank Epson for their support.
Joining us to discuss Ford's announcement today is Mike Murphy from Quartz. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, not too bad.
It's great to have you back. It's been a little while. So tell us a little bit about what Ford is planning specifically for the year 2021, firmly in the future.
Yeah, it feels like a really long time away. When they first said that, I was like, man, that's a while. And then I counted with one hand. I'm like, oh, it's not very far. But basically, Ford announced today, they've been coy about this before, but they finally given a time frame for when they're going to have some sort of self-driving vehicle on the road. So in 2021, they're going to have a car or some moving object with wheels that doesn't have a steering wheel or an accelerator or a brake, that you'll be able to hail like an Uber that will drive itself with no help from you. And they put a hard deadline of 2021, or they said that is their intention. And obviously a lot of things have to fall into place between now and then, but that's what they announced today.
I mean, is it a gutsy move to put a firm date on something like this? Because I mean, really, when you're talking about like in a world where you're out of in a world. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Okay, snap back to reality. Where you're driving around and you're surrounded by vehicles that are literally driving themselves, and there's no way in there for anyone to actually stop the vehicle. Right. The part of this plan is that there's no handover function. I mean, setting a 5-year date for that, is that a lot to expect of themselves? Do you think they'll make it?
Well, I think, yeah, on the one hand it is, because that's a lot. Like there was this kind of like, I got the sense it was almost like subtweeting where they were basically kind of saying, we're not going to have the handoff between a human and the machine because there's no good way to do that. And I kind of got this feeling they were talking about Tesla and the autopilot and the issues they've had recently. And it was like, well, okay, if that's the case, doing the much harder thing is probably not necessarily the right answer to that question. But on the other hand, you know, Volvo has said they're going to have a car on the road by, I think, 2019 or 2018. That's very soon. So, you know, when I've spoken to Ford in the past, I spoke to the CEO, Mark Fields, when I was at CES, and he was very coy about a timeline. And he said, we're not going to say anything until we're sure. And I actually went out to Detroit back in March, and I visited the self-driving lab there, and you know, I asked them about their plans, and there's this very methodical approach. You know, they didn't name names, but they made a point of saying that they're not like a lot of these other companies that are getting into it on the Silicon Valley side of things, where they just want to announce big things and, oh my God, look at this. They're a car company, and they want to make a car that doesn't do bad things. Cars are reliable, cars are safe, you know, that sorts of thing. So they weren't in a position to say, yes, we're going to have one of these on the road in X years at that point. And I guess in the last few months, things have progressed enough that they feel confident that in 5 years, which is a ways away, that they will be able to do that.
But I mean, self-driving cars, for them really to work, it almost, we've talked about this before, it almost seems like all the cars have to be self-driving. So if Ford's the only one that's saying 2021, you still have everyone else out there that's not Ford. I mean, everybody else has to catch up. So it seems like it would be a mess with half the cars being self-driving and half not.
I'm inclined to agree. And I mean, this is always going to be the case, I think. I mean, even if every single company, whatever their capabilities, somehow manages by like 2022 to have self-driving cars available, we're not all going to be able to afford those right away. We're not all going to be able to go out and buy them. We're not all going to need new cars. There's going to be decades, if not like half a century, of petrol cars and normal, just regular human-driven cars on the road. And there's just going to be an infrastructural mess for a while. And, you know, at least in the U.S., the Obama administration has earmarked money and wants to push this forward and sees it as the future of transportation, for better or for worse, in the U.S. But, I mean, yeah, there's definitely going to be a weird period where there's no right answer for this. That being said, I do wonder, with the way that Ford has said they're going to get these cars on the road, if there's actually going to be some kind of, you know, cashing of that statement where these are only going to be ride-hailing cars, you know, kind of like an Uber. I wonder if there's going to be very specific routes that they can go on in very specific, easily to map towns. You know, if they won't operate in inclement weather, or if they won't operate at night. They've just said that they're going to have self-driving cars. They're not saying that they're going to have a self-driving car that you can use in every instance all the time. So I do think that is probably still a little further ways away.
Yeah, and starting with the ride-sharing aspect, I mean, I have to imagine this is potentially an approach that others, you know, other manufacturers are going to follow into. It's a nice way to kind of step in a little bit without just opening the floodgates and saying, all right, everybody, it's autonomous or bust. What kind of investments has Ford made at this point to kind of anchor these plans so far?
So they've had a few in the past. They bought a company called Pivotal Labs. I think that was this year. 2016 is just blowing by.
Yeah.
But they announced a bunch today, a bunch of pretty sizable investments. The first one being, along with Baidu, they've invested $150 million into this company called Velodyne, which, if you've seen any of the self-driving cars on the road or online or anything, you always see they have the little spinny kind of hockey puck-shaped things, either on the top or the sides. Those are laser radar cameras that usually are made by Velodyne. So they're quickly becoming the go-to company for that sort of technology. Yeah, those things right there, one of those hockey puck dealies. So Ford has put a lot of money into that company and their technology. Everyone is, or not everyone, but a lot of companies are using them. Google uses them. I think Volvo and Toyota are also using them. But they've also invested in a few other companies, and an Israeli machine learning company to help them basically process all of the information that those cameras are seeing better, and a computer vision company. They've licensed their technology to basically, again, like, better understand what they're seeing. You know, it's very different to see a deer in the road versus a bear versus a human, but we know how to perceive those differently. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the self-driving car will.
So here in Northern California, we have the SMART train that we just got, which has been talked about for ages. And, now that it's actually almost ready to drive with people, it doesn't go where anyone wants it to go. It goes, it's on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge where, there hasn't been a lot of public transportation for lots of reasons. It's expensive and it just goes from one point to another point, and then people can't have no way to get to where they're going. And this sort of thing sounds like the same thing, as public transportation. Here's a big announcement and it's going to be wonderful. But the practicality of it, when it comes right down to it, like these these Ford self-driving ride-hailing, ride-sharing cars they seem to be running into the same problems as public transportation has run into for lots of decades.
It could absolutely end up playing out that way. What I'd counter it with is if you look at something like the Docklands Light Railway in London, which is a driverless train and has been since it was developed in the 80s. I think it went into service in the early 90s. They've had that forever. When it first started, it was very much nobody lives here. You're putting this scary train away from people. So I guess if it crashes, no one's hurt. It turns out it's the most efficient part of the London Underground system now. And partly because of the infrastructure and the fact there was no one else there, the newest kind of jazziest parts of London have built up around it, like, the Olympics and Canary Wharf, that sorts of thing. So, if Ford or whoever decides that, I don't know, Ann Arbor is the place to be. That's where they're testing a lot of these cars with the University of Michigan or Michigan State. I probably shouldn't confuse those. I think a lot of Michiganders really care about that. The blue one. But like if they decide, we've got the infrastructure here and there's so much technology and so much money here now because these wonderful cars are driving us all around and we have so much free time now, maybe that'll happen. But yeah, I mean, I think in the short term, it is very much like a really nice PR move. I and probably a million other journalists jumped on it. It was like, man, this is big news. But, when you start to reflect on it, you're like, they didn't announce a self-driving Ford Fusion. They didn't announce a self-driving F-150. They just said some car with a Ford badge on it will be available somewhere for some period of time 5 years from now.
With no steering wheel.
With no steering wheel.
Right, yeah. And I mean, the Ford CEO, Mark Fields, said during the announcement, he said the nature of ownership is changing. Do you think that's a kind of a bitter pill to swallow for companies like Ford, or do you think it's just kind of business as usual at this point?
I think at this exact point, it is definitely business as usual. But that being said, Ford definitely seems to be realizing that people like myself and younger people aren't necessarily needing to buy cars either because of better infrastructure in their towns or even in their like municipalities, or because things like Uber are becoming so easily available. Fields is realizing that. Why not sell to the Uber driver instead of the end consumer if those are the people buying the cars? And, why not provide that service as we already have so many of these cars around? And he's been making this point all year. My guess is that, when he announced the Ford Smart Mobility initiative earlier this year, this was always the intention. This was, they've always said that this is going to be part of the stated goal of this smart mobility future world where everyone has a car, but it's still Ford in your life. Like this is what they were envisioning. So I think they, more than some of the other American car companies, seem to have realized the writing on the wall. Whether that means that they still have a business in 40, 50 years that's the size of what it is now, it's obviously very hard to say.
Yeah.
Well, I am 100% behind the self-driving cars. I want them right now. I don't like driving. But they save lives. Like just the idea of getting drunk drivers off the roads, the idea of, just having texter and drivers off the road, it saves hundreds of lives. But of course, we're also talking about just putting that choice into a robot's hands. And you also wrote today about MIT's Moral Machine. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, this is a pretty crazy thought experiment that the Media Lab at MIT has put out. Anyone can go to it. I think it's moralmachine.com. And it's literally this quiz that basically takes an old philosophical argument, kind of thought experiment. They call it the trolley experiment, and modernizes it for something that might actually happen. And as you can see right here, basically what's happening is a self-driving car, either with or without people, has had its brakes cut or something is going wrong with its brakes. And it has to decide whether to kill someone by going straight or someone by veering off to the road, to the side of the road. And basically MIT wants to know what you would do in each of these situations. And the weird thing is, like, yeah, in and of itself, you assume it's like very utilitarian and like, you know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few sort of thing. But MIT's thing, for some reason, gives you a lot of information about all of the people that you're killing. So like right in this one, the people on the left are homeless people and robbers. You're basically deciding if you want to kill, and the other ones are doctors. It's like, okay, I don't think a self-driving car or a normal person would very easily necessarily be able to tell that in like a split second. Like this one, it's like you're killing either athletes or just like some fat people. Like literally, the guy on the right there, his label is a very large man.
Well,
and it's like
a normal person couldn't figure that out, but like that's the dystopian future, right? Like Minority Report, like criminals will wear some sort of sensor on their body that says I'm a criminal, and a self-driving car would know that and then kill them. But of course, in the Tom Cruise movie, he's not really a criminal. Someone just stuck that badge on him, and you know, then hilarity ensues.
Yeah, I mean, and so I guess their point behind this is to kind of show you that there very rarely is going to be a right answer in these situations. But yeah, I mean, in the future, you look at, you know, Minority Report or Judge Dredd or any of those movies, like, yeah, Judge Dredd always scared me as a kid because it's basically like the cops can just like kill you if they don't like you, basically, because everything's illegal in the future. And it's like, yeah, there might be a point where like these cars have that kind of volition and that kind of morality imbued in them by a third party, which is really weird. And I think that's what they're trying to show here. Apparently, you just killed a lot of dogs.
Yeah, that's Brian, not me.
That's totally Brian, too. Way to go, Brian.
But like, yeah, I mean, and I think that's what MIT is trying to show here is like, there's going to be some very, very iffy situations in the future, but these shouldn't outweigh the fact that roughly 100 people a day die in motor accidents in the U.S. And if we cut that number down to 5 or 0, or even if we cut it down to 80, you know, do we think that that is better and more important than the fact that the machine is the one that's done the killing, as opposed to a kid who isn't paying attention on their phone, or a drunk driver, or someone who's having a heart attack? And that's the thing that we as a society have to figure out.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. I'm happy that we got both of the articles in there, because that second one especially is very fascinating. Mike Murphy, Quartz, it's qz.com. If you want to find more from Mike, where can people follow you online?
Twitter, I'm there literally every minute of the day, MCWM.
Put the phone down, Mike. Put the phone down.
I got no watch.
That's true. You've put the Apple Watch away, so now you're just checking your phone every minute. Thanks again, Mike. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right, have a good night.
TNT's fan of the day is Dan Berg at Strawl Paul on Twitter, who sent us this picture with a follow-up tweet answering our reminder to subscribe from yesterday. Remember, I said subscribe to the show and then tweet at me that you've subscribed. But he said subscribe, but I don't want to get up. I'll do it in the morning.
Do it in the morning.
We're checking back in to make sure that you actually subscribed.
You did, right, Dan? Right.
And if you can tweet, you can subscribe. That's, yeah.
Dan, do it? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, good.
Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video, take a picture of yourself or your setup, post it on Instagram, Google+. We will find it, even if it's months ago. Mm-hmm. Have faith in Jason. He will find it. He still goes to Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag #HowIWatchTNT. We'll find it.
All right, up next, China is improving its security thanks to quantum communications in space. But first, before we talk about that story, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. And I mean, this is just basically it's going to help you get a house and not have to be, put through a level of pain that comes with finding all the information that you need to do, diving into the paperwork, opening up that filing cabinet and picking apart whatever you were thinking when you filed that stuff away. What were you thinking? You put that in the wrong file, and now it's very difficult to find. Well, Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It's fast, it's powerful, and completely online. Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. So if you do hate searching through your old stacks of files and paperwork and realizing just how bad you were at sorting them to begin with, well, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do it much easier. You can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button, helping you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. And even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or your tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
Don't get nervous or anything. Just calm down.
Okay.
Late yesterday, China launched the first hack-proof satellite into space. The BBC reports that Chinese state media says the Micius is the world's first quantum communication satellite, which means it contains a laser that transmits a pair of entangled photons, beaming one half of each pair down to base stations in China and Austria. If anyone tries to peek at these so-called unhackable photons, their quantum state changes. So take that end-to-end encryption.
I thought encryption was confusing.
And now it's quantum physics. Quantum encryption is even scarier. This is highly theoretical at this point in space.
In space.
There are fiber optic quantum key distribution networks in China already, and the U.S. and Europe, but not in space. Yeah.
So from what I was reading, it likened it to like spelling a password out in soap bubbles, and the point at which someone tries to like
pop it,
get that to read it, it starts popping away and you can't see it anymore. It's kind of the same thing, I guess. I don't know. Quantum physics it's not my thing. It's not my knowledge base at all. But I trust China in their well,
you
at
trust
least
Chinese state media?
At least in their ability to roll something out like this and have it be super secure. It sounds pretty interesting.
You trust everyone. You are too trustworthy.
I am very trustworthy. It's true. Apparently, it's not totally impervious, right? Because there's always the human element that is still fallible, and there are ways around that. So I don't know. Maybe this is the future. This could be the future. I don't know.
And if you want to look smart at cocktail parties, Micius is a Chinese scientist from the 5th century BC. But find out how to pronounce it first before you say that at a cocktail party. And if you know, email me at megan@twit.tv and tell me how to pronounce it.
I think some people now think that they know how to pronounce it because they heard you say it.
Well, then,
we'll find out.
If I say it, it's true. Everyone knows that.
That's right. All right, that is it. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. You can also find us on Twitter at TechNewsTodayTV. And don't forget to weigh in on our question of the day from earlier about video calling. What do you think? Is it convenient? Is it creepy? Unnecessary? Let us know. TNT@twit.tv.
Find all the ways to subscribe to our show at twit.tv/TNT. And if you want to tweet at me, I'm at Megan Morrone.
And I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to our technical director. That says Kara. But Brian's here because
that's right. Because Kara's too busy to be here.
Because he does all those crazy transitions and everything. Thanks to Mario for the words on the screen. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.